Welcome to the Time and Space Visualiser. My name is Will, and once again I am joined by my good friend Tom. Tom, how are we doing?
I'm doing very good, thank you.
Lovely jubbly.
A little bit tired, but we move, so I'm always tired.
Hey, that's fine. And basically, we wanted to do a little video and talk about how we first got into Doctor Who, and earliest memories, some favourite stories, and talk a little bit about what we plan to do on this channel. So, how did you get into Doctor Who, Tom?
Well, it was the revival. Back in 2005, it was getting announced, and I was on a car journey to South Wales to visit my family. My mum handed me a video because I had a video player for the car. I'm that old.
Video player in the car,
and
Jesus.
it had some classic William Hartnell, very first season Doctor Who. Only 3 parts of the Dalek serial, but it was enough to get me interested. And then we watched the revival. I still remember hiding and being scared after The Empty Child.
Standard.
I was 7, so that was rather terrifying for me at the time. What about you?
My earliest memory of being alive in general is Doctor Who, which is probably why it's so ingrained into everything that I do in terms of hobbies like this, and just I can't stop talking about it, which is partly the reason why we're doing this. But I remember that realistically, I got into it just before it came back in the revival. I mean, I was born in the middle of the second half of the Wilderness Years, the post-Paul McGann TV movie. And I remember watching the end of the first episode of Remembrance of the Daleks, with Sylvester McCoy with the Dalek goes up the stairs. And that was my first proper key memory of anything that I can remember. I know it wasn't round about the time when the DVD came out because I would have been too young, but I think my dad was the one that got me into it. And I think I must have just been watching it with him when he was watching it one day. And it stuck with me, and I always remember watching that. And I think I remember Earthshock with Peter Davison.
Oh, that's great. Great serial.
Some of those early DVDs that came out were some of the classics, Curse of Fenric, Robots of Death. I remember Pyramids of Mars as well around then, but it all sort of blends in one. But I remember when I remember watching the revival come back with Christopher Eccleston and Billie Piper. And that's when it really just, like, a switch went in my head and I was hooked, and I have been ever since.
If it makes you feel any better, I remember Earthshock coming out in them little cardboard DVD cases you get.
The ones you used to get with the Sun.
Yeah, I used to get them with the newspaper.
They were a random selection of episodes.
Oh, they really were, because the one I had to wait an extra couple of weeks or so to get the rest of the Earthshock serial.
But there was, like, Earthshock Part 1, I think they were all Part 1s, I think, apart from the newly recovered, I think there was an episode of Dalek's Master Plan that came out with it as well, and that was like episode 2, so that must have been really weird just to stick that on and be like part way through a very long serial as well. But and I think it was Rose as well, and Spearhead from Space maybe, I can't quite remember, but I do remember having those because I remember my nanny always used to give them to me. But at this point my dad was getting all the classic DVDs anyway. I remember the ones that we didn't have on DVD, I saw not all of them in order, but we used to pick different bits and pieces, and I remember we had a big video collection as well that was my dad's. So the ones that went out on DVD, we had on video, and the ones that he didn't have on official video release, he taped off UK Gold repeats. So to put them in, you get like the 90s adverts and everything, and that was a very strong memory because we didn't have any, we didn't have internet or anything at that point, so it was just watching videos and DVDs and stuff. So I think that's why it's so ingrained in me, but ever since the revivals come back, then it's just been like
I'm the same
as well. I remember a lot of watching things like the story of Doctor Who and the 40th anniversary things that obviously not at the time, but my dad had taped, that I'd then seen a couple of years later when the revival was back on. And I remember just being fascinated by everything, knowing that there was so much more Doctor Who than just what we had at TV, which at that point, I think by the time I remember watching that, we had like 2 series of the revival, and knowing there was like another 26 out there, which was all really good.
Thank God for BritBox.
Yeah. If you had to pick who, people always say, oh, so-and-so was my doctor, so-and-so was my doctor. I can't nail that because of watching, obviously Chris Eccleston was my doctor in terms of he was the doctor I was watching when I first got into it, when it was new on Fresh. But I'd seen so much of Davison. I think Davison I really gel with, Sylvester McCoy, even bits of like Tom Baker. I know when I was younger, I couldn't get into the black and white ones at all, which is crazy looking back now because I dip into the black and white ones more than I think I do the rest of the show. And
despite the questionable acting, the stories were really good.
I don't even think the acting's that questionable. It was a product at the time.
A couple of them.
Everything's got duds in. That's a given. But I remember just being in awe at this crazy, like, it was escapism as well, because it was nothing I knew. I used to run around, and my brother was quite into it as well. Not so much as me and my dad, but we used to like pretend to play it when we were running around the house as kids. And I'd always ask for Doctor Who things for birthdays and Christmas. I was getting sonic screwdrivers. I used to break sonic screwdriver toys all the time. So every time it was my birthday or Christmas, I wanted a new sonic screwdriver. It got to the point where the people stopped buying me them because I kept breaking them all the time. But then I used my birthday money and bought more, which I then broke.
Mine haven't broken yet. I've still got them going strong.
I've replaced all of them now. I think I have all of them now.
One of Tennant screwdriver. That's the batteries are going on that, so I need to find new ones. But no, it's I
think I remember growing up. It was everywhere when we were growing up with that first Russell T Davies era. It was everywhere.
Well, it was back when they had inside the Red Dragon Centre down Cardiff Bay. They had the exhibition.
Yeah.
Back in them days, before they moved to their compound, which sadly isn't there anymore.
It's a shame.
It is a shame because they had a really, really nice little story to start you in. You got to fly the TARDIS, and that would have been really good to go and shoot for, because I think we'd have both had a field day at that one.
I think you would have seen me in levels of excitement I couldn't possibly contain. And I went to the experience when it was in the bay by the studios. I think I went twice. Because this was before I lived round it. For clarity, we live Cardiff area.
I came over from London specifically for that.
Yeah.
And benefit was my family are here too, so I guess they got lucky too.
Yeah, I'm from all the way in West Wales, so it was a good 4-hour train ride just to come out. We did it. We made the pilgrimage.
Yeah.
But this is where Doctor Who was everywhere. You go into any shop, and I remember going into Toys R Us, I think in Manchester when we were visiting family, and there was just this massive wall. And it was just everywhere. I used to collect the toys, the action figures, books. I used to get Doctor Who Adventures every week.
Yeah.
So you get free gifts with that. I remember everything. Everyone knew me as Doctor Who mad, and still do. Still do.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Absolutely not. It's the one thing I could do Mastermind on. So.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I'm not sure if I'd get as far as you mind, but.
But the thing is, I do well in Doctor Who, but then absolutely tank the general knowledge.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's fair.
You don't want me on your pub quiz team because I'm not that good. But there we are.
I'm normally not in a fit state to do a pub quiz.
This is true. This is true. But in terms of favourite Doctor, do you have one? I know that's a question everybody always asks you.
Yeah, no. Again, it's difficult because I've watched so many, and I love each Doctor for different things. I'd say of the New Who, Tennant was probably my favourite. But if we go in classics, I'm not going to say a rip-off of Peter Davison, but him and Peter Davidson's Doctors do feel very similar. They have their own quirky, different ways about it.
And that's one thing I never get, because people who are big fans of Tennant will watch the old series and then call Peter Davison they're one that they got on with the least because he's so bland. And I don't get it, because
he's so much like...
especially after you get 7 years of Tom Baker, it must have been such a breath of fresh air to have someone who's a little bit more toned down and a bit more human.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more relatable.
I did love the wacky Tom Baker stuff, though. That was something special.
Yeah, I think if I had to pinpoint a favourite, I would say Tom Baker, but it does change. I've obviously, like I said, I've got a big soft spot for Davison.
Yeah.
I love Patrick Troughton. I like all of them. It's a pointless conversation, really. Yeah. I think if I had to, those would be in my top 3, and the rest of them all just shuffle into place depending on what I've been watching.
Can we start a petition to get Paul McGann his own TV series?
Yeah, we should definitely do that. We're all going to do this. We're going to build this base, and then we're going to just start making protests. I'm talking
harass Russell T Davies to get Paul McGann his own series.
Yeah, I don't want to scare Russell T Davies. I mean, I've already done that once. He was a very lovely bloke. I bumped into him in the middle of Cardiff Bay one random weekday evening, and he just walked past me. Yeah, I'll put the photo up now, and. Yeah, you could see from the goonish look on my face how beyond excited I was, because I didn't even plan to meet him. I think I was at a comedy gig or something, and he just walked past with a 2-pinter of milk, clearly just been down the shop to get some milk or something, and I was like, I froze, but then I was like, I can't let this go because I'll never forgive myself. Yeah. So I went up to him and straight away he clocked me. He's like, that's a Doctor Who fan, and he suddenly genuinely talked to me for about 10 minutes. He was genuinely really lovely. One of the nicest probably the nicest celebrity experience I've ever had, because he genuinely stopped, and he didn't have to.
Should have pressured him for spoilers on the new series.
I mean, I did sort of go, how's it all going? He's like, well, I can't say anything, and, but...
Yeah.
Very lovely bloke. So I think we could probably, if I find him again, he might recognise me. We can get this Paul McGann thing going.
Oh, well, hell, if we know where to contact.
And if you got his agent's number, leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
But favourite stories?
Earthshock is definitely up there. I really love that.
I agree. The
Dalek invasion of Earth.
Oh, yes.
That is back in William Hartnell's day, where at the end of it, spoiler alert, he leaves Susan.
Which you can now watch on the lovely Season 2 Blu-ray. We're not sponsored, but I just like showing it off because it's so pretty.
Yeah. But it's the where he leaves Susan at the end of it. It's Susan's farewell from Doctor Who. The episode as a whole was great. Well, I say episode, the serial. Some flaws, they could have just tipped the Daleks on the head. That seemed to kill them in the early Dalek story.
That's the whole reason they've got that dish on their back, because it gives them the power they don't get from the floor. That's what that dish is on their back for.
Yeah, but no, it was a very good story.
I think Hartnell in that last, because if you watch that last episode, he does come across when, for the majority of the episode, you can tell he's getting flustered. He's not really flubbing lines, but you can tell he's quite stressed. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. But
that last scene with Susan in the TARDIS, you can tell he absolutely nails. And it's one of his strongest performances, I think, through his whole time. That and the end of the massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, where Stephen's left. It's missing, but you can hear it. And he sort of gives this, not talking to himself, but he gives this sort of, well, he is talking to himself because there's no one else there. But he gives that really big speech about how everybody's left him and maybe he should go home and is it all worth it and stuff. And that's really like proper.
Yeah, it hits
moving.
Hard. Yeah.
Considering, when people think of Doctor Who in the 60s, they think of like cheap black and white sets and rubbish acting. And you get moments like that proves that it's just as good as anything that's on now.
Yeah, no, it is. 10th Planet, it's also up there.
Yeah.
Hartnell's Regeneration, really, really good introduction to the Cybermen. Quite a scary look to him at the start, like you want from your monsters in Doctor Who. You don't want them all being happy and friendly and nice. You want some that think, oh, is this going to be the end of the Doctor? And Mondasian Cybermen did that.
It's a great story as well, that one for Ben and Polly. Yeah, because Hartnell, obviously, by this point, he is quite ill. He has, I think, the whole of episode 3, he's not there. It's a stunt double where he sort of kills over and has a little nap for a bit. Yeah, and his lines are then split between Ben and Polly and that other scientist whose name escapes me right now.
Yeah.
But Ben and Polly, I think, are great in that. And it's a shame because I think they're very strong companions overall.
Yeah, they were.
Some Troughton classics, though. You've got, like, Mind Robber, which is just crazy but brilliant. The 2 Dalek stories from Troughton Zero, I think, are 2 of the strongest ever.
Invasion.
Yeah, Invasion's good. War Games, there's
Web of Fear,
I think, is up there into my top 10 stories of all time.
I loved War Games. It does go on for 10 episodes, but they're 20 minutes each. You can sit down and watch it in an afternoon. And
I would
it's
do it
so
in
good.
2 sittings myself. I've done it before in 2 sittings. Watch the first 5 episodes on a Saturday, the first 5 on a Sunday. That's good fun.
I binged it in one hit. It was my bum did go dead. There are a few points where I was like, should I just skip through? But then you don't want to.
You don't want to because you don't miss anything because it's all so good.
I mean, I have seen it like 7 or 8 times now.
Back probably about the same. There's some stories. There are some episodes, maybe not the stories, but episodes, like individual ones that I know pretty much word for word. I can watch them and I can say the lines along with them. And because I've seen them that much, purely just from watching them when I was younger. I'm so ingrained into my head. Pertwee as well. We can't forget Mr. Pertwee. There's some great ones in there. I think his strongest stories are the ones where... Well, his strongest stories are sort of closer to the start and towards the end of his run. I think there is that dip in the middle with that sort of Series 9. But I think with Inferno near the start, that's brilliant. Anything with Roger Delgado in is great.
Oh, God, yeah. No, that's class.
The best master.
Very good.
By a long mile.
Yeah.
Planet of the Spiders as well, I love. And then, where do you even begin with Tom? Everything's great. There's only like...
With his book reading on Twitter.
Yes, if anybody follows an account called Crazy Moments in Doctor Who History, there's a segment from Tom Baker's audiobook in there. We're not going to say anything about it for PG reasons, but if you are of a suitable age, go and listen to it because it will make you laugh.
It is hilarious. It had us in stitches.
The whole book's brilliant, actually. The whole of Tom Baker's autobiography is phenomenal.
That's the bit that stands out.
Yeah.
That is the sore thumb of the book.
Yeah. But in terms of Tom Baker's TV stories, I think his second series... I mean, I like all of them, but his second series, Series 15, I think if I had to pick one season as my favourite from Classic Who, that one. That one with him and Sarah Jane. It's like Terror of the Zygons, Planet of Pyramids of Mars, Planet of Evil, Android Invasion, Brain of Morbius, Seeds of Doom. They're all like, that's the pinnacle of Classic Who for me. I think that's where it really is at its absolute best. I mean, it's all good. I even like Series 17, which is like Tom Baker comedy half hour. And that's where the sort of budget really is stretched, I think, with inflation and a number of different reasons. But it's still enjoyable because
it doesn't take away from the story at all.
Yeah. Horrifying Rock, that's another classic from a bit earlier. It's not season 17, but it's still...
that is classic. Just keeps calling his companion savage the entire time.
Yeah.
Oh, she got annoyed.
Yeah, she did. And then towards the end of his run as well, like, you've got things like Logopolis, which is not the kind of finale you get to a Doctor nowadays, I don't think, because it's very...
They wouldn't run that at all these
techno-babbly, especially for a Doctor that's been there 7 years. You'd expect something a bit more action-packed, but it is just a case of...
You'd expect a much more extravagant regeneration part, like not just falling out of off a pole. You'd expect a big-time villain to come back, be the one to kill him. You got the Master. Yeah, but the Master didn't kill him.
He kind of did. He started tilting that the telescope.
He just sort of watched. He's just an innocent onlooker.
No, I blame the Master.
I would much rather have seen a Dalek or a Cyberman get the job done. Just for the fact that they keep cropping up. I know the Master does all the time, but the Daleks and the Cybermen have been there since the first Doctor, so it'd be nice to see that.
Yeah.
Sneak in a bit, or just something. Again, budget would at the time you'd never get any of the effects you get now.
And then we get Davison as well, and I think Davison, I think for me, has the strongest consistency in terms of quality. I don't think, whereas some Doctors will go up, but when it goes down, it's really bad.
Yeah.
But with Davison, I think there's that level of, all right, he might not have such a high, but they're good, and then they go really good, and then there are some that are obviously duds. You get things like Time Flight, Warriors of the Deep, but overall, there's not many that...
Every season has their duds, though.
I think Davison's probably the one I rewatched the most.
Yeah.
To be fair.
I've rewatched it enough that when they re-mentioned Adric in the series finale and the special for Jodie's goodbye,
that scene,
that did hit home quite a bit.
Yeah, seeing him back in costume as well, and I don't care anybody that says like you can't get these classic Doctors back to, they're too old and everything. You watch it, you don't care, you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
I didn't even need to mention it because I'm used to the Doctor. They're still playing the Doctor now. I'm a big fan of Big Finish, and they're always going to be the Doctor. So I don't care if they look older. Just get them back in the costume and let them have fun. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. It was really nice seeing him back in costume.
Yeah.
Really nice seeing him, McCoy and Davidson working back with Tegan and Ace. I thought that was really, really nice. I also loved the touch that the Master threw in, touching back to the classics when he saw Tegan and Ace.
Yeah, a little reference there to...
to how's your family sort of stuff, and
asking if she keeps Auntie Vanessa in a little box or something, a little doll's house, I think he says.
Yeah, no, that was they did a lot of fan service bringing that back.
More Davison era stuff, please.
Yeah,
Russell, if you're watching, I know we've already asked you for a Paul McGann TV show, but more classic series stuff too. Thank you.
Just give us a lot, please.
But also, we're very excited for the new things as well, which we're going to do a video on pretty soon.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. November's going to be good. We're finally less than a year away from the next lot.
Yes, we are. There's no. It's weird coming up to Christmas and knowing that we're not getting any Doctor Who at all. But
Christmas specials are coming back, confirmed.
Yes.
I'm really excited because it's a big staple of Christmas Day.
Yes, keep an eye out for our video of that very soon.
You sit down on Christmas, it's family time. Doctor Who's a family show. It should be on Christmas Day. I understand why they did the New Year's, because it is the start where they broadcast the first part of a new series on as like the start of the year for
I know they dropped the things like Sherlock and when they did that new Dracula a couple of years ago, they all on New Year's Day. But if they were launching a series, that's fine, but I do prefer if they're going to do a special
Christmas
stick
Day
on Christmas.
Yeah.
Where did we get up to when we talk about the Doctors as well?
Davidson.
Yeah.
We talked about him, so it's
Colin Baker.
Colin Baker, yeah.
Slightly more...
It's the first episode he's in.
Yeah,
he tries to kill.
He tries to strangle Perry, and it's very
poor Perry.
Weird to watch, considering that Perry's the whole reason he regenerated. He saved her life after they were both poisoned, and one of the best, I think, if not the best regeneration story they've done.
Yeah.
And then after all that trauma, she's immediately the man that's just saved her has just changed to a new bloke who's then tried to strangle her.
Yeah.
Weird choice to go with it.
Very weird.
I think Colin's era on telly, is the weakest of the classic series. I think he does his best with what he's given, but they just write him into such an unlikable character.
Yeah.
I don't like the constant conflict between him and Perry. I'm glad they sort of dialed that down towards the end. And
it was distracting from what was going on, I'd say.
I think if you are a fan of the classic era, and everybody knows Colin Baker's one of the loveliest people ever to play the Doctor. You see him in interviews, you could just tell he's just such a lovely bloke. And give Big Finish a try. They do a really, really good job of, I don't say they improve him, but they definitely do improve the stories, and they give him more chance to do what he wanted to do with the part. They give him new companions, so he's not just constantly bickering with Perry. And I think when he's if you take any Sixth Doctor audio where he's got a companion that isn't on the telly, you're going to be in for a treat. They're all really, really strong, and there's a lot of them now are only like, I think, £3 to download on Big Finish. So if you've got a bit of spare change, go for it, treat yourself. And there's a lot on Spotify as well. If anybody pays for Spotify, then
yeah, I was going to say, go give Spotify a try. There's quite a lot on there. You got a lot of Paul McGann on there.
Yes, and the Paul McGann ones are the next ones I'd recommend.
Yeah, no, I do love the Paul McGann ones. My partner hasn't had to suffer the Paul McGann Big Finish in the car on long drives, but lo and behold, she's going to suffer this Christmas on a family trip. So that's going to be fun.
Chimes of Midnight.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, but before we get to McGann, we have old Sylvester McCoy. Oh, yeah. And he was the first one I saw, so I've always got a soft spot for McCoy. And he's got quite a short run, really. His 3 seasons have only got about 14 episodes in each.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a sort of a new Doctor's.
And they cancelled it as well during this run.
Just when I think, and I think they really found their feet in that last series.
Yeah, it was,
those 4 stories are very, very good.
It was almost like they wanted to end on a high, I'd say.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah, they did. I'm glad they didn't drag it out and risk it. I'd love to have seen
what they had planned next.
Yeah.
Not so much the Cartmel master plan, because that's very timeless children, but we won't go there. Stay tuned for thoughts on that. He's gone moo again.
I don't like the timeless children.
Nobody does. But yeah, I think it was very interesting to see what they would have done with Ace, bringing in new companions, all that sort of thing. Yeah, and then we got nothing for a while. Well, I say we didn't get anything, we weren't alive, but then Paul McGann comes along with the TV movie. The TV movie is a unique beast, I think, in itself. I'm not really sure how to put it. Paul McGann's brilliant in it. I think the TARDIS is gorgeous.
I wish they brought that back.
Yeah.
I really do.
It's a lovely TARDIS. I think I can see what they did with it, but when it's been off the air for 7 years or whatever it was.
Sorry, I'm falling off the seat. It's fine.
I mean, he's going to bang that microphone and I'm going to leave it in just to show how much this person causes me pain.
I don't cause you pain. Stress. Anyways, carry on.
The McGann movie, yes. So there's a lot to like about it. There's a lot that really doesn't work. If you're going to reboot a show for an American audience, reboot it. Don't try and continue it for the British audiences as well.
Yeah, do what you did with The In-Betweeners and kill it. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent.
Without the TV movie, we would never have had the blueprint of what not to do to bring Doctor Who back and thus have the new series, because they would have tried something again and done the same kind of thing of doing a continuation, and it would never have been as good.
I thought McCoy's regeneration in that was a bit rushed.
That was weird.
I didn't like.
It's the fact that he gets killed by a botched surgery. Like that's what gets him.
Yeah, and I think it's quite funny for the surgeon after the mortician.
But can you? Yeah, that scenes. There's some bits like that work quite well. But can you imagine though watching that sort of sitting down to your TV in America, May 1996, never having seen a lot of Doctor Who. At least by this point, you've probably seen maybe a couple of episodes on repeats and stuff. And then you sit down and you watch. Oh, there's a new series coming on. We'll see what it's like. And you think,
no, I'm good.
What is this?
There's
a
the
reason
love
it wouldn't go to
story.
Series.
It's the love story.
Yeah, that was controversial.
Yeah.
And the half-human thing as well, that happens there.
Yeah, no, that
which
was...
we now know to be factually inaccurate because we know the Doctor is the timeless child. It always gets a reaction.
Oh, you don't like it.
But then again, we get nothing. Apart from, the usual books, comics, and audios came along at this point.
Yeah.
Which I will do a video on, I think, at some point, do talk about Big Finish and some expanded media stuff.
I need to listen to a lot more, to be honest.
That could be a fun little project.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it comes back, 21st century, big budget. Paul McGann, he's not in it.
No, it's Christopher Eccleston.
What am I on about? It's Christopher Eccleston, Billy Piper, Russell T Davies at the helm, and it's awesome. I think the only thing I could criticise for Series 1 is for not having more. I'd have loved to have seen another series of Eccleston, even one more.
But then it's a revival as well. Like, they don't want to blow everything, go all out first episode, because if it doesn't work, it's not a waste, but it could have been put elsewhere or saved a bit, knowing you're going forward, you're gonna have more episodes, and I think like as the seasons have gone on, they've done a lot more with less.
But that's
and
what I
it's
like.
worked out really well.
You do get that staggered approach to it, because if you think the Doctor doesn't go to an alien planet until series 2, that first series is all set on Earth or on space stations.
Yeah,
And you don't get the Daleks in episode 1 like the BBC wanted. You wait until you've introduced the Doctor, and then you get like a second sort of.
I do think they could have done a bit more with the Next Time, because I've seen the Next Time since, and they showed the Dalek early on. I feel if you just left the blue eye stalk with the blue light in the eye stalk.
Yeah, but it was no secret the Daleks coming back. They promoted that purely for a ratings boost for the middle of the season. So I think it would have been fun to have seen it come back as a surprise, but I don't think they would ever have done it. It would just makes more.
Yeah, it would have been weird having a massive ratings boost mid-season.
Yeah, then we get some bloke called David-Tennant. I
don't know. I've heard some good things,
Yeah, not really watched him.
He's back though.
Yeah, he looks like that new fella that's playing the Doctor, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah,
David-Tennant.
Yeah.
No, we do like a bit of Dave. We do love a bit of
Davy Pooh.
We're gonna, I think, leave Dave for a bit more in depth when we talk about what's coming up next.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So
Matt Smith.
Yeah.
Matt Smith was good.
Stephen Moffat taking over.
This is the first big new change, I think, in terms of it was like a soft reboot into the revival. It works for a bit. Series 5, I think, is strong enough. Yeah, I think there's a lot of chemistry between Matt and Karen and Arthur as well. There's some great stories. There's some slightly weaker ones. But on the whole, I think it does work. It's when it starts. I think the Moffat era for me is at its best at the very beginning with Series 5 and at the very end with Series 10. There's a lot of stuff in the middle. There's some great gems in there. The stuff they did around the 50th with Day of the Doctor.
I love
there's some individual episodes from all seasons that I think are great. But on the whole, I think Series 6 just goes way too complicated than it needs to be. And then Series 7 just feels a bit tacked on. I know someone's made a viewing order where you take the first half of Series 5 and splice it into Series 6. And just ignore the whole stuff with Amy and Rory splitting up for a bit, and it works quite well, which I've always been interested to watch it in.
Okay, that's fair.
I think Clara comes along then, and Clara I think overstays her welcome. She feels like she's there for.
She did feel like a spare part.
Yeah, her story's done by the end of Series 7. That's the thing, and then they keep her on, and she leaves, but then she comes back, and then she leaves again, and then she comes back again, only to get killed off, but then doesn't actually die.
No, she is still out there.
But she's out there somewhere with Maisie Williams.
She is still out there with Maisie Williams in the TARDIS. And part of me does kind of want that to become something, because they got the opportunity. But at the same time, I'd be like, what the hell is this?
I couldn't give a toss whether I see either of them ever again, to be honest.
No.
I think that Capaldi's era as a whole goes from very middling and downwards. I used to remember, I hated Series 8 when it first came out, and enjoyed Series 9 a bit more. I think they're on a par of quite low quality. Capaldi does his best with what he's given, but what he's given is so poor that even an actor of his caliber can't lift it. There are some great ideas.
One of his strongest ones was Zygon Invasion.
Yeah.
I think that was a very, very...
Any chance where he gets to do a speech, basically.
Yeah, any monologuing he gets to do. The man is the king of monologuing. That's the first time we get a browser history joke as well, if I remember rightly.
Oh, though browser history jokes have been the thing whole of Capaldi's era, and they're the worst joke in the whole series, I think.
It was that series when we had... It was at that season 9 where we had the Sonic glasses. That's when they first showed up.
Yeah. God, I hated that as well. This is why I get a bit negative, because I think... from about 2014 onwards, the potential is there. They just don't do anything with it. I think there's... In Series 8... I love Listen.
Yeah, no, that's a very good episode.
It's phenomenal. The rest of them range from okay to terrible.
Yeah.
I think the two Jamie Matheson ones, Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline, are the two strongest after that. The finale is a mess. And then you get
I love you, Danny. Splat.
Yeah. Then you get Series 9, which is, again, a bit messy. I like the idea of doing two-parters. I like the one with the flooding of that underwater base.
Yeah.
The original 2 Dalek one for that series, I think, is dreadful. The Maisie Williams stuff is dreadful. I like Face the Raven. Obviously, you get Heaven Sent, another masterpiece. Each Capaldi, those 2 seasons, they both got an episode that's really good and stands like head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And then you get Series 10, which I actually do really like.
Oh, I love Season 10.
I think the Eaters of Light and the Ice Warrior one are the two slightly weaker ones.
Yeah, they're slightly weaker, but they're still enjoyable.
Yeah, they're still enjoyable, and I think the rest of it's really good. I'm not ashamed to say that I quite like the Monk trilogy. I don't care if people don't like it.
No, I enjoyed that. It
stupid ending, I'll give you that, but the rest
very
of it,
stupid ending, but it was very, very well done.
And then
for
you
the
get
rest
the
of
finale.
it. Oh, that was emotional. That hit me in places I didn't think I could get hit, and
it was very strong.
It was a very, very strong two-parter. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And then you get that little special at the end then, which is...
Twice Upon a Time.
I think...
It was a nice farewell for him.
It was a nice farewell. I think in terms of tone, when you get that finale and you're watching them all the way through, you do kind of feel like, I wish he had just regenerated in that finale.
Yeah.
And I know that was only done to save the Christmas special shot, which Chris-chibnal got rid of anyway. So it all just feels a bit strange now. Which then moves us on to Jodie-Whittaker.
Which we got a video out for, or coming out. Yeah, it's the next one.
Do you want to do that link again?
No, we'll keep that in. So Jodie-Whittaker, we've just done a video on. It's going to be coming out next.
We want to try and get stuff out at least once a fortnight, sort of very structured things, a bit longer videos. This is more just a bit of a discussion and a chat. Yeah. And then get this discussion in chats out whenever we've got something to talk about. We've got a good couple of ideas lined up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, though. And we hope to see you again soon. We've got the Jodie-Whittaker video out soon. And a few good things lined up in the pipeline.
No, I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can go with this. Looking forward to going onto location and doing some shoots, hopefully when the weather's a bit warmer.
Yeah, we've got some plans to do stuff because we're based around South Wales where there's a lot of big Doctor Who locations. We've got a good couple of videos planned around going to certain places. At the minute, it's a complete write-off because as everybody knows, it's absolutely Baltic outside and there is no way we're taking all of this us.
No, not
and freezing to death on like the Gower Peninsula. It's not happening.
No, God, no.
But soon-ish. But for now, we've got some good discussions coming up. We're going to have a few other people on, a bit more structured stuff in terms of, like we said, now we've got the Jodie-Whittaker tier list coming out. So
yeah,
please stick with us. Like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out.
Yeah.
You can find us on Twitter. All the links and everything will be in the description.
If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Drop them in the comments below or message us on Twitter.
Yeah, please get involved. We'd love to we've done this really just to get to put our opinions out and get to know people
and find other like-minded people who enjoy Doctor Who.
Yeah. See you next time.
Ta-da.